It's countdown season, so let's count some things down.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and I'll tell you about FanDuel in just a minute. And thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Jimmy, we're going to get right back into your countdown because it's countdown season, baby. And we've already given a shout-out to the softball team. We've already given a shout-out to the baseball team. We should have given a shout-out to – we had a tennis player win a national championship on an individual level.
Yep. First time it's ever happened.
Huh?
First time that has ever happened in the history of the University of Alabama.
Congratulations to that
Philip Penensic. Let's go with that. Philip Penensic. He is from Slovenia. And not only was it's not a flash in the pan, he was actually 2 years ago the SEC Freshman of the Year. Alabama had never had one of those before him. He's the first. Can you imagine that? As long as we've been playing tennis, he's the first SEC Freshman of the Year tennis player from Alabama, and now is the first ever Alabama national champion.
And it's ironic he's from Slovenia because he's quite quick. Anyway,
Probably
Jimmy,
so.
I figure I always like to work one dad joke in. When you got 4 kids, your whole life is a dad joke. Okay, so Jimmy, let's get into the countdown again, and we're going to go to number 70, and that's Amari Jefferson. That's Amari. And fired up about him, super smooth player. Didn't play like the highest caliber competition in high school football, but that's okay. He seems to be ready. Look, if it weren't for Ryan Williams, I think he would be the most talked about wide receiver that everybody's super excited about. Like in terms of guys we don't know. You know, I know some people are excited about, well, maybe Caleb Odom would still be that dude because he's moved to wide receiver. That's sort of cheating. So I'm going to go with Amari would be the wide receiver that we all thought would be a wide receiver that everybody would talk about if it weren't for Ryan Williams and Caleb Odom. It's not. It turns out that it's not so much of a compliment that I'm giving him, but I'm trying to.
No, I couldn't agree more with all that. As a matter of fact, to show where the rankings, and I know when we do the rankings as here on the podcast, as opposed to what I do on BOL, where it's all written down, a little easier to see and map out. It's hard to keep up, on the verbal podcast. It's kind of hard for everybody to keep up. But put it this way, Amari Jefferson. This is how high I am on him. He is number 70 on our countdown. He will be the 18th player we have covered here on the countdown. All 18 have been true freshman signees, all 18 of them, because the guys I put at the bottom are the guys that I believe will redshirt. Well, notice that Amari is the last of them. Amari is the guy I have on the top of the heap of the guys I'm projecting to redshirt. So I'm still saying, I think Amari redshirts. But we're probably not redshirting 18 players. Then we might. We redshirt more than everybody out there thinks. We redshirt quite a few players, especially now that they can play up to 4 games and still redshirt. That's why so many redshirt now, because you can play them up to 4 games. I have Amari at the top of the list for any number of reasons. I think he's great. I think he's going to be a star. I think this kid has a world of potential. I expect him not only to be good, but a really good player at Alabama. And he might be a good player early. But there's 12 wide receivers on scholarship. Most of them look ready to play. Like Luke just said, I have Ryan Williams and Caleb Odom ahead of him in the pecking order. Ryan because he's Ryan, and Caleb because he was here, in the spring, got a head start on Amari, and people are excited about his plus size at the position. So if you're playing Ryan and Caleb, in addition to all the wide receivers you got coming back, plus the transfer, Jeremy Bernard, I just don't really see how there's enough snaps for Amari to justify burning a season. So I got him as a projected redshirt. But again, I want to stress that I have 18 projected redshirts, and Amari Jefferson is at the top of that heap. And I fully admit I doubt all 18 of these guys really redshirt. So that's how high I am on Amari. Super smooth. I think Luke used that term. I think it's the best word to describe him. And if I'm going to do a comp, and again, my comps are not, hey, he's going to have the same career as. My comp is like size, speed, style of play. I see some Amari Cooper and Amari Jefferson.
I think that comparison is inevitable. I mean, not only just because of the first name, but if you watch the tape, that's who he kind of reminds me of. Like, the thing about Amari Cooper, and gosh, I mean, one day, maybe this summer, we're going to have a podcast, and maybe for a whole week's work, we're just going to reflect on the Saban era and some of the greatness, because there was so much greatness back to back to back to back to back that we didn't have a moment to digest it.
To catch our breath. Yeah.
We need to go back and look and pick our favorite 10 players or best 10 players from the Saban era or whatever. And Amari Cooper would be on that list. I'm not telling you where exactly he'll be, but he'll be in the top 10. And I watched the other day, just on my YouTube rabbit hole, there was some Amari Cooper highlights, and the way he burned Auburn in that Iron Bowl in 2014, it was just like they had nobody that could come close to him. He knew it. They knew it. It didn't matter. And then there was the Florida game where he just toasted everybody. There was the 99-yard touchdown against Auburn. He ended up, I think he dropped a touchdown pass, ironically, in that game that would have helped Alabama. But the 99-yard touchdown where, I mean, I still don't understand how he saw the ball to catch it. It's just he was just so special. And Amari Jefferson, look, I'm not saying Amari Jefferson is going to be Amari Cooper. That's silly. That's stupid to say. But in a way, they have a lot of the same traits coming into Alabama. I think they look relatively similar. Amari Cooper is from the Miami area. He was doing all that chasing jackrabbit stuff, in the swampland. So, I mean, he had all this natural ability, and he played tougher competition. But they were both ranked in the 100 to 150 mark for the most part. Like, it's weird that in retrospect, Amari Cooper wasn't a 5-star, because as a freshman, he came in and just whatever he wanted to do. Like,
had a coach tell me, a coach on Alabama's team tell me after that spring practice that Amari Cooper was the best wide receiver on the team.
Yeah. I mean,
he'd only practiced, 10 or 12 times.
You think about the 2012 Georgia SEC, it really was a national championship game, but SEC title game with the long touchdown late in the game where he was like, oh, I guess he's going to throw it. And then he was able to speed up and get to the ball and score that touchdown. And then the catch over the Rambo kid. I mean, he was just amazing. I'm not saying Amari Jefferson's going to be that, but it's one of those, hey, this is sort of our comp. And hey, if he is 1/3 as good of Amari Cooper, I'll take it.
Right. Yeah, that's why I want people to understand. I wrote that last time on BOL too about my comps. My comps are to paint a picture, the picture of what Amari Cooper looked like, when he played. My comps are size, speed, style of play. It is not a, hey, he's going to have this type career. That's not fair. But hey, when I say Amari Cooper, y'all can easily picture him. If I compared him to a player that barely played, you'd have a harder time imagining what the guy looks like. But Amari Jefferson, I think, is just a real similar size, speed guy to Amari. Plays like him, and I think he can be that level of player.
All right, let's take a little look at FanDuel. You know how much we love FanDuel here at Locked On Bama. They're the best, just like you're the best, our listener. And so the best wants to meet the best. I mean, it's just the best. FanDuel is. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and much, 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 much more. Do you like how I threw in a bunch of muches like I used to in my book reports when it said it had to be 500 words? That's $150 to bet on whatever you want, y'all. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to make every playoff shot count. America, y'all know this. FanDuel is America's number one sportsbook. Okay, so now we have made our way. This is where you get to the weird spot. And
it is a weird spot.
Sort of ironic. you get to the weird spot and number 69 and it's a kicker. I know. I mean, look, you knew I was going to make some kind of joke, but I got to keep it moderately clean because there are kids who listen and nobody needs to know anything.
Those kids are dying to know about this next player for sure.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. But anyway, Connor Talty.
Yeah. And to be honest, I considered putting him at the very bottom. And this is why it's not Connor's. I'm not making a statement about
what do you mean very bottom?
At the very bottom of the rankings. I considered making him number 87.
So wait a minute, you went from he's number 85 to
87,
like
87,
or 87 or whatever
to 69.
Like one of the primo numbers in number 69. That's
69 just happened to be the cutoff where, okay, I'm done with the projected true freshman red shirts. Now let's get to guys who've already redshirted. Connor redshirted last year. He can't redshirt. Even if he doesn't play at all, he will not redshirt this season because he redshirted a year ago. Can't do it twice. So Connor is at the bottom of the guys that can't redshirt because they already have, but I don't expect to see much of him. And hey, I know people will take this the wrong way. Jimmy's saying Connor Talty stinks. I'm not saying that one bit. I'm saying he's a freshman. I'm saying we got to give him more time. He wasn't ready. I think if I'm going to go negative here, I think this spring showed Connor Talty wasn't ready yet to be a starting kicker in this league. Not ready yet, but that's not crazy. I mean, as a redshirt freshman, we talked about this all the time. As a freshman, redshirt freshman, Lee Tiffin missed multiple kicks and we lost to Arkansas because he couldn't make an extra point. Then when he's a senior, he's a first-team All-American as a senior. Kickers improve and develop too, just like all the other positions. So Connor's going to have some time to get better. But because Alabama brought in Graham Nicholson, and because you don't play two kickers, I don't think we're going to see much of Connor Talty this season. Now, he may get to kick here and there at the end of decided games. It would be nice if we gave him some experience that he could build on going into next year, because Graham Nicholson, the kicker we brought in from Miami of Ohio, the Lou Groza Award winner, he is a one and done. He only has 1 year of eligibility. So Graham Nicholson's going to be a 1 year, and then we need either Connor Talty to be ready next year, or we got to go sign another kicker. That's what they got to figure out in the next fall. That's why this fall's sort of critical for Connor. Connor may be thinking, hey, I'm not going to kick. Graham's going to have the job. This is just another year of me sitting. I would pep talk Connor differently and say, no, this is your fall to prove they don't have to go sign another kicker, that you can be the guy next year. Because if you're the guy at Alabama for even 3 seasons, like you could be, that's some high profile stuff. So don't leave. Don't start packing your bags, which he, by the way, didn't do. Shout out to Connor for not hopping in the portal after this spring going, oh, y'all gave up on me this quick, I'm out of here. He didn't. He put his head down and he's gone to work. He's trying to get better. So I think that's great. I'm pulling for Connor Talty to be the kicker in 2025, and we don't need to take the signing of the best kicker in college football as some sort of statement about how we feel about Connor Talty's future. But because we won't see him this fall, I have him down here at 69.
Sorry,
it was funnier that time.
So, here's the other thing about Connor Talty. And I think what you're saying is correct. It's like if Carol Alt came to you and said, hey, look, you've been, I'd like to go on a date. You know what this, let me put it another way. And let me go Seinfeld.
I was excited about this Carol Alt.
I was going to work in another Carol Alt reference. Let me go Seinfeldian on you. When George Costanza found out that Marissa Tomei loved short, stocky, bald men, he was like, maybe I need to put my engagement on hold just to see where this goes. It doesn't mean Susan's not pretty good looking and not a pretty good person.
She was always way too good looking for George.
She's not Marissa Tomei. And that's Connor Talty is Susan and Graham Nicholson is Marissa Tomei. And that's okay. And so, and I like the fact that he didn't take offense to it and didn't leave. Let's also be real that the best play Connor Talty has had so far, and granted, he did redshirt last year. Granted, he didn't get to play a lot. But the best thing he's known for is a tackle against Mississippi State last year.
Yeah.
Best thing he's known for.
He's a big physical. I mean, I know that's fun because we don't often see kickers make physical plays like that. Connor Talty's a bigger physical guy than one you think. Oh, he's a kicker from a private school in Chicago. But man, Connor Talty, he's a physical dude, big and strong. And again, I think he could be good. But I also say this spring, he did not clearly beat out the walk-ons. There's a particular walk-on, Reed Schubach, who I think is a senior. I don't think Connor Talty had Reed Schubach beaten out. I mean, that's how bad it was. I wouldn't say a struggle so much as he wasn't quite as good as Schubach. And I think what Connor Talty's got to work on is his range. That might surprise some people, but from my limited viewing and from what I hear close to the program, I think it's range. He's pretty accurate inside 35, 38, 40 yards. Pretty good, pretty accurate there. But once you get over even 40, he loses some of that accuracy, and I think that's what he's got to work on. But do what?
Didn't he miss one in 8?
I think he did. I believe so. And was he even short maybe on a kick? Well, now, one thing, I got to the stadium super early for 8A because I wanted to see this in particular. And I watched the kickers specifically because they're the first ones on the field. And it's not those 45 plus kicks are a struggle for him for real. And everything he did in 8A, and I do believe he missed, wasn't a surprise to me based on watching him warm up. But again, there's some promise here. And let's remember this: when people say, oh, he's got to work on his range, just go get another kicker. Will Reichard worked on his range. That's why Will Reichard came back in his last season at Alabama, was he felt he needed to prove to the NFL he had more range and could kick off better. I needed longer, higher, better kickoffs and more range. So Reichard was working on that in year 5. So let's give Connor Talty more than year 1, to work on that.
And I always felt like this. I mean, if you are a kicker and if you ever can get in there and make one big kick, think about first of all, the confidence boost, but now think about the NIL boost.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you just got to get in there and make one good, solid, game-winning kick that's very important, and you're set for life. Van Tiffin's been selling motorhomes off 1985 for God knows how.
Yeah, ultimate NIL deal. Of course, Van Tiffin was smart enough to literally own the company that he was pitching the motorhomes. But at one point about Van Tiffin, who is a legend, by the way, I'll love Van Tiffin forever because of the kick against Auburn. But this surprises people. To Luke's point, if you make that big kick, they love you and remember you forever. Van Tiffin is remembered as one of the greats and the legend. His career numbers are not nearly as good as Adam Griffith's. Adam Griffith has better career numbers than Van Tiffin, and it's not particularly close. And Van Tiffin got to use a tee and a wider goalpost. Adam had no tee, skinnier goalposts. Van Tiffin had a tee and wide goalposts, and Adam's numbers were still better. But people don't remember it that way because they'll always remember the great big-time kick that Van Tiffin made to beat Auburn. So Luke's points are dead on.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk about 3 of the big commitments we got coming in this weekend, Jimmy. All right, so for those that are listening on the podcast part, not the YouTube part, I have to put 2 ads in that last segment. I hope they don't run together because I don't really know how to do that. So I hope that they work out fine. If they are running together, bear with me while we experience these technical difficulties. But Jimmy, we've got 3 commitments coming in this weekend, 3 big ones, and I'm just going to let you expound on all 3 of them.
Yeah, sure. This is a huge visit weekend for Alabama. There are 13 official visitors off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure we've had that many before, but, and since this is the first real big visit weekend of the year, it just doesn't seem like we've had 13 before. That is a lot of kids in one weekend, and so many of them are high profile. Luke and I are going to discuss them all over the course of the week, but I wanted to start with the 3 kids that are actually already committed to Alabama. Because obviously we're excited about all of them because they're already committed. And let's talk about the kid that I think is probably the best of those 3 kids, or certainly the one that's most highly ranked, and that's Derek Smith. He is from Southside high school in Selma. Great safety prospect as a kid. You're a good safety prospect when other schools want you to play different positions. I mean, he could easily play wide receiver. I think other SEC schools kind of like him at wide receiver. Derek was basically with Alabama like, hey, you tell me where you think I'll be best and fit in best. And for Alabama right now, it's safety. And he will be such a plus athlete, a very modern, new age safety that's going to be good in coverage. He could even probably get away with playing nickel corner, physical. I mean, he checks every box. When you're like, hey, what are you looking for in a safety? And you just come up with like 6 or 8, 10 traits. Derek is definitely one of those guys that checks every box: size, speed, ability, physicality, playmaking. This is a guy that's good in the return game. I mean, he's just a spectacular athlete. In my mind, I'm not exactly sure where he's ranked, although I think I have this close. He's a national top 50 guy to me. I believe that's where he'll end up or where he is now per on 3. But Derek Smith is absolutely a premium guy, and he will be making his official visit this weekend. Also making his official visit this weekend, super high on this guy. He doesn't have universally great rankings yet, but that's probably coming. But Latsier Brooks, the wide receiver from Jersey, man, this guy is good. I'm a rankings guy. I am a sign as many 5-star guys as you can get. When we get a commitment and it's a guy that's not rated high yet, again, early in the process, but we get a guy that I'm not familiar with and I'm not sure, then I'll watch the tape. And I've been watching high school tape for a long time, and I've got my own opinions, of course, but this guy is good. I don't care where he's one of the. I don't care if they rank him in the 2000s. Sign this dude tomorrow. To me, he is a guy I would have taken, Luke. I don't need to see the other receivers. I just watch a tape. I'm like, this guy. I want this guy on my team. Super fast player. I know he's got some good verified times. I mean, this is going to be a 4.4 guy, but he plays to it. His game speed is fantastic. Well, a lot of guys, Luke, that play wide receiver are track speed, ultimate speed guys, and you take them for that alone. But this kid's got ball skills too. This kid would be a good receiver if he ran a 4.6. I'm serious. If he ran a 4.6, I would want to take this guy on the ball skills. But he don't run a 4.6. He runs a 4.4 and may even run a sub 4.4. I mean, by the time he's done training in college, I love this kid. The only knock on him a little bit of size. Anybody that runs like he is, you can't expect him to be 6'2", 225. I mean, he's a little smallish, but man, I am so excited about him. And I'm telling you, on 3 has him. Yeah, he's the size Nicholas Harbor should be.
Yeah,
I mean, if he wasn't such a physical freak, and we can talk about him on some other show, even though he plays for South Carolina. But Nick Harbor's worth a whole show, even though he plays for somebody else. But Brooks is going to visit this weekend. The third guy visiting that is also committed to Alabama, all 3 of these guys committed to Alabama, is Zamir Smith, the cornerback from Maryland. Again, not super highly rated, probably going to move up over the course of this summer. He's a guy Alabama liked right away. Look, they're recruiting the Northeast. Every staff is a little different in terms of where they all come from, where they network, and where they have connections. We just happen to have a staff that's got a few Northeast type connections. So that's why they're recruiting even Quincy Porter, another wide receiver from New Jersey. Got Latsier Brooks, who we just discussed, and now we're talking about Zamir Smith, who's from Denton, Maryland. Good, solid athlete. The one thing the trait that I like most about Zamir, Luke, is positional versatility. I think he's a guy a little like, I'm going to invoke the name Red Morgan here, who was really good in the spring. One of the reasons Red, I think, made such an impact at Alabama quickly is Red just shows up and goes, hey, coach, you want me to play corner? You want me to play nickel corner? Or you want to stick me at safety? He's good with playing any of the spots and can play any of the spots, even corner, even safety. That's Zamir. I think Alabama likes him as a pure cornerback, which is great because it's so easy to transition from there to nickel corner or even safety. Harder to go from safety to corner. But Zamir, great positional versatility. He can even play some offense. I'm excited about Zamir. But in terms of where he rank, I think probably in top 200 nationally for him, top 200, top 250. I think Latsier Brooks, in my mind, is a slam dunk top 100. I think On 3 has Latsier up there. One of the services, and I think it is ours at On 3, has him really high. Derek Smith's just already a national top 50 type guy. But those are the 3 players committed to Alabama. And here's the deal, Luke. They're making their official visit in June. That's when official visits mostly happen these days. Signing day is the first Wednesday in December. You got to hold on to them for 6 months in the era of NIL, in the era of NIL gone wild. And I think holding on to these guys, all of them, is going to be hard, just simply because we're going to be constantly fending off DMs, if you know what I mean. I mean, people sliding in their DMs.
Boy, do I know what you mean.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure that's how you met Carol Alt.
All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.